Hi, welcome back to another exciting episode of Coding with the JimBean. In today's video, we will be focusing on integrating Firebase with SwiftUI into your iOS app. This series will guide you through the process step by step and helping you harness the power of Firebase in your SwiftUI projects. But before we jump into the code, there's an important decision we need to make. So choosing between CocoaPods and Swift Package Manager for Firebase integration. So we will explore the pros and cons of each approach to help you make an informed choice. So in our next video though, we will be diving into Firebase authentication. So make sure to stay tuned. We will cover the implementation details and demonstrate how to integrate it seamlessly into your Swift app, SwiftUI app. So, and here's some exciting news for you as well. So throughout the Firebase integration with SwiftUI series, I'll be hosting a surprise giveaway to participate and have a chance to win. Make sure you follow my social media handle listed in the comments below. Trust me, and you don't want to miss out on this exciting opportunity. So without further ado, let's get started with integrating Firebase into SwiftUI and unlock the world of possibilities for your iOS app development. Remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more amazing content. Now let's dive into the fascinating world of Firebase integration with SwiftUI. So and as always, if you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll be happy to assist you. So CocoaPods and a Swift Package Manager offers different advantages when it comes to integrating external libraries and frameworks like Firebase. So let's take a closer look. So the first one is CocoaPods, and CocoaPods is widely used dependency manager for iOS and macOS projects. It simplifies the process of integrating external libraries, including Firebase. So here's why you might consider using CocoaPods for Firebase integration. So the pros for the CocoaPods basically it actually extensive library support. CocoaPods boasts a vast repository, making it easy to find and integrate Firebase and other popular frameworks into your project. And also, you can with the CocoaPods, you can specify the desired library versions, ensuring capability and consistency across your team. And it is a pretty simple command installs Firebase and its dependencies, allowing for effortless updates to latest versions. But the cons for this is sometimes the CocoaPods can be pretty complex. So, and the CocoaPods can introduce an additional layer of complexity through the pod file, which may have a learning curve if you never actually used the CocoaPod before. And managing dependencies at the project level can lead to conflicts when different libraries require different versions of the same dependencies, which can be challenging to solve if you don't really truly understand how everything the dependency work together. Another thing is each pod installation or updates adds extra build times and steps as well, resulting in a slight increase in the overall build time of your project. Okay, now let's shift our focus to Swift Package Manager a little bit, so which has gained popularity among iOS developers in the recent years. So Swift Package Manager, or so-called SPM, is Apple's built-in package manager. It simplifies the distribution and management of Swift packages, including Firebase. So here's why you might consider using SPM or for Firebase integration. So for the pros of a Swift Package Manager is pretty much the SPM actually being built into the Xcode already, so it provides a seamless integration experience. You can just add the package directly from Xcode's interface. And another one will be the SPM actually uses the Git, so actually make it easier to manage and track package version just within in the project source control system. Another one is known for its fast and efficient build times. SPM utilize parallelized dependencies resolution and the build process. But of course, there are some cons. For the SPM, you can also the library ecosystem is not as extensive as CocoaPods. They don't have too much option out there for the third-party libraries that's running in SPM. But I think over the past couple years, I start to see more and more. So I can only imagine they're gonna be having more third-party libraries start using SPM as well. Another one is SPM has a certain limitation when it comes to like configuring complex dependencies or integrating non-Swift code, which may restrict your project's flexibility in certain scenarios. Currently, I do know there's a certain way you can run a script in a command, which you can integrate a Collins code into Swift Package Manager as a Objective-C code, of course. Then you can actually integrate that package directly into your Swift project. Of course, there's some trade-off for in between. You might encounter some issues. I would say maybe a memory management as well, because after all, there will be two different platforms. So another thing is if your project relies on third-party libraries only available through CocoaPods, using SPM for Firebase integration may require like additional workarounds, because sometimes the dependencies might not support SPM. So you might still have to go back to CocoaPods, or sometimes you might need to add additional like run script in order for things to work properly. So in this video, we will explore how to use a Swift Package Manager to incorporate SwiftUI into our project and integrate Firebase services. While Firebase may not have provided a specific code example for SwiftUI usage, with a little adaptation, we can make it work. So here is the Firebase documentation for how to integrate the Firebase with your project. So if you follow all the instruction, you should be able to just easily integrate into your app. But of course, they does not provide a specific instruction that you need to that you can use to integrate into your SwiftUI specific project. But the concept is almost the same, except like you are not using a storyboard creating or UI kit instead of SwiftUI. So everything should be almost the same. So let's go with the step 1 to create a Firebase project. And here you can see I have an empty project here. So let's start by give a name for the project. So I think we're gonna call this a learn Firebase with in SwiftUI. Continue. Enable Google Analytics for this project. Sure, you can continue. Just keep everything default. Choose or create a Google Analytics account. Yeah, I think I'm gonna skip this one for now. So let's go back to previous and toggle this off. And I think we don't need all this features right here at the moment. So let's create a project. This might take a while. All right. So your new project is ready. So continue. And here is your brand new Firebase project console, where you can integrate with a lot of features. I don't think we're gonna go through every single one of them. We'll pick something that's pretty important for every mobile application need. Then we're gonna start from there. So let's just click on this iOS. So we need an Apple bundle ID. So let's go back to our Xcode and grab that, and I'll come back. All right, so let's find our bundle ID here. We can actually go here. Just copy this. going to be the bundle ID we're using. I think that's the only thing we need for now. So, yep, let's go back. All right, let's paste that right here. And for the app name, it's optional. App Store name, App Store ID is optional. But if you decide to push this application to the App Store into production, that you might want to consider to update this App Store ID after you done it, so that in the future you don't forget about it if you have to use some features that might need the App Store's ID from Firebase. So for this app nickname, I don't think we're gonna do anything about it. We're just gonna skip it. So register the app. And now you have to download this Google Infopilas config files. So let's do that, and we can drag into our project like showing right here. Okay, so we just dragged it in. Then let's just keep everything default here. I think we should be good there. There we go. As you can see, we dragged in this Infopilas file from the Google service. All right, so next step, let's click on next. Now we want to add the Firebase SDK. So in this case, since we're going to use the Swift Package Manager, and it looks like Google, Firebase, they already provide a information on how to integrate with the Swift Package Manager. So technically it's really simple, straightforward. We can just copy this link right here. And then we can go back to our Xcode and to add that there. So since you're in the Xcode, let's go to the project settings. Then you want to go to the actual project, not the targets. Then go to the package dependency, or you can just directly add right here. There is a package. Normally you can just add right here, add a package. You can also click on this button right here. But I think I find this is pretty easy, so I like to go here. And you can just simply paste that in and choose the branch you want to use from the Firebase. Normally, personally, I would prefer something to next minor. So I have a more specific latest update that I can use. So let's use that and add to the project. By default, normally if you have one target, it's already selected for you. Sometimes it does not because Xcode might have some issue to load properly. So then you just hit this drop down menu. Normally you can just select one. So let's add the package. And this might also take a little bit of time as well. Feel free to skip the video when I start, when this is finished. Alrighty, so looks like we already load everything. Right now, I just ask you basically picking whatever the Firebase iOS SDK package product that you might need for your features. For now, I think we don't need to select anything specific for this part of the video. So we're gonna just hit add package, then we're gonna add stuff in when we start to integrate more features in the next couple of videos. So let's just add package. And we should see this start loading and start to downloading everything and cache them, which will do all things for you. There we go. Now we have the Firebase SDK, the module integrated. Now let's go back, finish up the documentation instruction, see what else we need to do, in order for us to make sure the SDK is actually installed properly. All right, so we had this step. We did this step, added the package, added the Firebase SDK as a Swift package into our project. So hit next. Now here actually shows you some SwiftUI codes, but besides this, I don't believe they show us more. So you can technically just copy all the things right here directly into your project, and you should be okay. So we're gonna do that. And go back right here. And go back, we're gonna copy this as well. And then we're gonna copy this, just copy the comment as well, so you have something reference to it. Let me just copy this separately. I'll copy that first. And then I'm gonna copy this. Yeah, so here is something that's something to do with the Firebase, that some part of things actually you need to use app delegate to integrate to start with. And it looks like we need a Firebase core. It seems like we do not have some reason. I think I know why. Let me go to here, take a look. Go to the target and go to the general. You can just go scroll down. Go to framework, and in here you can try search core. See if we can find Firebase core right here. But normally by default, Firebase core should be already integrated by default. You should not need to do anything. Let me see. Let me do a quick clean and build and see what happens. What option it has? No such module Firebase core. I think I may need to add one of the Firebase package product in order to have the core be imported. So for now, let's just try to add a Firebase Analytics. We're gonna use this one here since it says Firebase Analytics without add ID support. So basically, this is for like there's a new rules. I think it was a federal rules or something. That's another topic. I'm just quickly cover it. Basically, it's like you have to provide information. Basically you need to ask a user permission to ask them to track them, so you can provide advertising stuff, content to them. So basically, if you want to do that, then you have to choose the first one, or you can choose this for on-device conversion. For this for the Swift version. But for us, we're gonna choose this because since we're just testing and demo stuff, so we're gonna choose that for now. And it will show up right here. So now let's go back to run, do a clean, and do a build. It should work. There you go. All right, so Firebase core, it is working properly right now, so we can successfully building it. All right, let's go back to finish up what we need to do there. All right, so we already copied over this code here, so let's go next step. So you're all set. Make sure to check out the documentation to learn how to get started with each Firebase product that you want to use in here. You can also explore a sample Firebase apps here, or we can continue to console. Okay. So now let's go back to the Firebase documentation on the integrating the into the project. So we did register your app with Firebase, and we did add Firebase configuration file, which is the Google service info plist file. And another thing is add Firebase SDK to your app. So we did all that. Now is actually initialize a Firebase in your app. And we did already have, okay, it does have SwiftUI. Okay. Maybe it looks like Firebase already did update the SwiftUI part of documentation not too long. But that's a good thing to know. I thought they didn't not have one. Okay, so I think we should be good. We don't have to copy exactly here, unless you want to use the Firebase Firestore or Firebase Auth. I think we're gonna cover that in the next couple of videos, so stay tuned. For now, we're gonna use a Firebase core, which we already have. And we're already calling Firebase config, and this thing will actually launch the SDK to initializing and starts. And we're to copy all the code that we needed. Here it's just basically available libraries to show you what kind of package features that you can use. You can use authentication to integrate like a login, a sign up for the user, or with the social media. I believe there might be a required different package features, but we'll cover that when we get there. We'll also eventually using Firebase, I believe it was Firebase Firestore or cloud storage, a cloud Firestore. Yeah, we'll eventually also cover cloud Firestore integration as well, so we can show you how we can integrate the database into your mobile applications. So you can have a remote database that you can see all the data, you can collecting all the information, then you can have all the data on the server. You don't have to cache them in the local or save in the file or anything, or core data and all that. But it's truly depending on your feature. But today's most applications are all depending on the APIs. So I would highly recommend you use Cloud Firestore, since they already provide all kind of security for you. So you don't have to integrate or implement any security measure into your application to keep your users' data secure. So, and another one, I think we're going to cover also Crashlytics. We're also going to cover like remote config as well. It can be really handy when you want to switching features in the application, but you do not want to push a new one to the App Store. So let's see what else we need to do. Integrate with using, okay, so here is the one that's integrating with CocoaPods. So for any of you choosing CocoaPods, feel free to follow the steps right here. And it should be pretty easy, and you should be able to integrate without any problems. Okay, so I think that's it on this documentation page. So let's go back to our Xcode and let's do some quick running on the sample app, see if everything still builds and runs properly. Let's see if this runs properly and it can show up. All right, hello world showed up, and let's double check if our SDK initialized properly or not. You should be able to see configuration, info plist, contain no UI. So you are saying for that is fine there. We want to double check if our Firebase has been run properly. So we can do is we can either put breakpoint here, or we can just simply go to Firebase console and see if there's anything started. So let's go to Firebase console first. Let's see if anything starts there. Then we know the SDK has been installed properly. So now we're here. What you can do is actually do a quick refresh. Maybe refresh again. You should be able to see something soon if you install and integrate everything properly. All right, it don't look like it showed up here, but that is okay. Let's go back to our Xcode and to the double check, see if the SDK has been started. Okay, now we're here. Put a breakpoint there and do a run again to see if we hit that. Yes, we did. Okay. All right, so in that case, we should be okay. Most likely, we currently did not actually logging anything or doing anything. There's no additional UI. There's nothing happening currently, so it should be. Probably that's why haven't seen any changes on Firebase, and also it can be because Firebase sometimes actually the data might be delayed for about a few minutes to a half hour or so. So you might not be able to see right away, not unless you are integrating something that immediately may triggers an update. For example, if you have a Crashlytics integrated, that if you cause a forced crash, I believe that will be trigger the Firebase to update to show the crash about maybe a couple minutes. Then you will see the data on there. So for now, since we called the config, and also the application can run properly, so it looks like we're successfully integrate our Firebase SDK into our fresh built SwiftUI demo app. So if you are trying to follow along and integrate this SDK into your Swift project, so after you're implementing the code, always remember to test and run your application to ensure everything is functioning as expected. So by following these steps, that you can effectively utilize Swift Package Manager to work with SwiftUI and integrate Firebase services into your app. So if you want to double check, make sure your console Firebase actually integrated properly, you can go ahead to calling a particular thing for analytics, or I would suggest you can try with integrating the Crashlytics, which we will be cover that as well. That we can trigger an immediate crash of the application, which should show up here as soon as it crashed. So take a moment to confirm that your app is correctly connected and communicating with Firebase services in the Firebase console. In today's video, that we learned how to integrate SwiftUI and Firebase using Swift Package Manager. At first, I thought maybe Firebase did not have a specific SwiftUI code examples that shows how to integrate all the Firebase functions or features to the new SwiftUI projects. But it looks like they already updated, so that's a good thing. If you want to see more about integrating Firebase authentication, make sure to check out my next video, and I will dive deeper into that topic. So I hope you find this video helpful in your journey of building SwiftUI apps with Firebase. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. And thank you for watching, and happy coding.